In the Aristotelian physics, nature is identified with the order of generation and dissolution, the realm of becoming that encompasses all beings under the sphere of the moon. Beings happen to be, develop, and pass away in accordance with the diptych potency act and the transformation of the four elements. In contrast, the celestial world is characterized by an everlasting, perfect, immutable order associated with the divine ether. The distinction between these two realms, rooted in their differing constitutive matter, was sharp and profound. Bridging this divide and formulating a unifying cosmology became a central task for the commentators engaging with Aristotelian texts from the Hellenistic period onwards. Some, such as John Philoponus, went so far as to attribute an elemental matter, fire, to the stars, or to rethink cosmology altogether. The Neoplatonic school of Alexandria exemplified this effort, achieving a high level of commentary on Aristotelian works. Their curriculum harmonized Platonism and Aristotelianism, becoming a model for subsequent generations of scholars, particularly within the Syriac Christian school of the Eastern Mediterranean, and of course for the Arabic philosopher, as we should see. Nevertheless, the gap between the two realms, the celestial and the sublunar ones, had already been a subject of discussion for Aristotle's foremost commentator, Alexander of Aphrodisias, 2nd-3rd century. A successor to the Aristotelian chair in Athens following its restoration by Marcus Aurelius in 176, Alexander devoted his work to interpreting and systematizing Aristotelian doctrines. His efforts were particularly aimed at addressing the critiques of rival schools, especially Stoicism, which had a strong following at the time. In Alexander's worldview, nature is considered as pervaded by divine power, the same heavenly power that allows the celestial bodies to influence the sublunar world, following the idea displayed in Aristotle's De Generazione et Corruptione and Meteorologica. To Alexander, divine power is transmitted from the celestial or divine bodies, as eternal and perfect, to the sublunar bodies, which are subject to generation and corruption. Alexander's worldview, much like that of his near contemporary Ptolemy, is populated by divine heavens that intervene in and influence the events and constitution of the earthly world. As a matter of fact, the Severian age demonstrates a particular affinity for the study and practice of astrology and divinatory arts. Indeed, both authors reflect on the nature of the heavens and their influence on the earthly world, while Ptolemy produces a work like the Tetrabiblos, the Quadripartitum, which legitimizes astrology as a prognostic science. Alexander develops a defense of Aristotelianism. In Alexander's view, the celestial spheres endowed with intellect desire the first god, and at the same time, from them, a celestial power pours forth over the earthly world. While this second aspect aligns more closely with the Arabic revised translation of Alexander's works, such as On the Cosmos, Fi Mabadi al-Kul, than with his original Greek text, Alexander explicitly rejects the Stoic view that divine power is a material substance permeating and entering another body. Rather, to Alexander, it is an immanent force, dynamis, inwardly governing each process of the sublunar world as they occur os epi to polyu in the majority of the cases. It offers a glimpse of the invisible, a trace of the divine entering the earthly world. Divine power permeates earthly beings and integrates itself with the nature already present, which arises from the actualization of the being's internal potency. This potentiality achieves its full perfection in the realization of the mixture or blending. And we find here a quotation from the Quaestio 2.3. In this way, there will be a second nature, deuterafusis, which we had said is the divine power, theia dunamis, that comes to be in sublunary bodies because of their proximity to the divine body. However, not only the divine power connects the two realms of the cosmos, but it can be described in terms of providence, pronoia. Among the two, the divine realms exercises providence over the sublunar world, while the latter is the object of providence, as governed by the orderly movement of the celestial world. Concerning the divine celestial bodies, as previously said, they are governed by the desire for the particular aspects of the first god, the Ammuz mover, and in their turn, each of them exercises its own specific influence on that particular aspects of individual nature. The planets moving along the zodiac cause heat, dryness, moisture, and coldness within sublunar matter. These are the primary forms or qualities that are constituted in the sublunar world as a result of divine power. From the mixing of these qualities, composite bodies are formed. Alexander analyzes the sublunar physics through the lenses of destiny, Marmene, fortune or chance, Tuke, and human responsibility, to e femin, what depends on us in Stoic terms. Indeed, he examines destiny as the chain of causes inherent to the nature of an individual being, while fortune and chance are explained in Aristotelian terms as the convergence of separate causes that intersect and disrupt expected regularity. According to Alexander, destiny is the sequence of causes intrinsic to the particular nature of an individual. It is therefore not tied to universal nature or the species, but unfolds within the possibilities inherent to that specific entity. On the contrary, the preservation of species is dictated by the regular order of the cosmos established through divine providence. Alexander addresses this topic in his On Providence, a treatise lost in Greek, but preserved in Arabic in two versions. The earlier version originates from the 9th century circle of al-Kindi, while the later version comes from the 10th century peripatetic school of Baghdad. The titles of the two versions reflect the distinct objectives and translation styles of their respective majalis. The Kindī-Circle's version is titled Fit Tadbirat al-Falakiyya, on the governments of the spheres, of the celestial spheres, while Abu Bishr Matta bin Yunus' translation is titled Fil Inaya, literally on providence. Sorry for the noise. It's my office. Sorry for this moment. It depends on the heating. There is the renovation of the building, so sorry for this interruption. So the title of the Abu Bishr translation is Fil Inaya, literally on providence. For my talk, I will consider some passages taken from the Kindī-Circle Alexander Makala, aiming to outline the key features of the new cosmology that falsafa, philosophy in the Muslim context, develops in alignment with Islamic religion during this initial phase of engagement with the Greco-Syriac works. Crucial to these projects appears to be the role of Alexander Aphrodisias, Neoplatonism, especially Plotinus, as well as the imaginary and analogies introduced by the adaptors of the Kindī-Circle to foster a full concord between Hellenic thought and Islam. This serves to conjugate the two cosmic realms in monotheistic creationist terms. Indeed, at the heart of the Kindī-Circle adaptation are two central Islamic dogmas: monotheism and creationism. These dogmas drive the interpretative framework behind the Greco-Syriac Arabic translations at the Caliphate court, shaping how the philosophical ideas are integrated into the Islamic worldview. If we consider Abu Bishr's translation, which is more faithful to the original Greek, it becomes immediately apparent that the opening section of the work, where Alexander engages with rival schools on the topic of providence, is omitted in the Kindī-Circle Makala. Consequently, the work begins directly with Alexander's conception of providence, which is shaped by passages from Aristotle's De Generazione e Corruzione and Meteorologica. The text begins, as you see in the slide, as follows. He, Alexander, says the sage, Aristotle, Hakim, mentions in his work entitled Book of Providence, Kitab at-Tadbir, that the cause of the being of things subject to generation, their preservation, and the perpetuity in their form are the sublime celestial bodies. These bodies bring into being, guide, and preserve them. That is, the power of the sun, the planets that resemble the sun, are the cause of the being of the natural change in things and of their perpetuity. From the very first lines, the adaptor introduces the central theme of Alexander's reflection, the power transmitted from the sun and other stars to the sublunar world. Even divine power coincides with nature itself and serves as the instruments of God's governance of the cosmos. Therefore, and you can read it, therefore, if it is so, we can say that nature, which is the celestial power, governs the things subject to generation and dissolution until it, nature, reaches their completion and purpose, distinguishes between things in these, separates them from one another, and preserves their forms also through reproduction and the generation of one from another. For the Kindī-Circle, Alexander's concept of nature, tabia, is distinct from art, sina, as the latter is related to the Platonic concept of demiurgy, whereas nature, in Aristotelian terms, is an inherent principle within sublunar matter. This principle operates by pursuing an internal purpose, differentiating individuals, and ensuring the preservation of the species. Due to the omission of this section in Abu Bish's translation, the direct source for Kindī-Circle adaptor appears to be John Philoponus, an author often transmitted in Arabic under the name of Alexander of Aphrodisias. In the second book of his commentary on Aristotle's physics, Philoponus discusses the Aristotelian concept of nature, distinguishing it from art. Parallels to some passages from Philoponus' commentary can be found in the Kindī-Circle Makala. Now I'm going to read these passages taken from Philoponus' commentary. Of natural things, it is clear that each has such a source, in nature, of movement towards the form to which it moves, and of stability in the form towards which it was moved. And subsequent passage, for it is not because the wood is potentially a bed that we say it possesses the art of the bed, but rather when it takes on the form of the bed, then it is said to possess the art of the bed. Similarly, bronze, when it takes on the form of the statue, then possess the art of the statue, not when it is only potentially a statue. So, in comparing the passages here, other passages from Philoponus on Aristotle's Physics 2 and the Kindī-Circle on the governments of the spheres, we observe both continuity and adaptation in their treatment of the relationship between matter and form, nature and artifacts, and Aristotelian teleology within a Neoplatonic framework. So, firstly, Philoponus emphasizes the natural movement of things toward their form, where stability is achieved once this form is realized. On the distinction between potentiality and actuality, Philoponus argues that matter only acquires its art or perfection when it assumes the corresponding form. Wood becomes a bed, as we have said here. Wood becomes a bed and bronze becomes a statue only when actualized. The Kindī-Circle builds upon this idea, but frames it, you have here the passage, but the Kindī-Circle, sorry, I lost the point, builds upon this idea that frames it in terms of causation. Nature requires the proper material conditions to achieve specific forms, much like a craftsman cannot produce a sharp sword from wood. The Kindī-Circle adaptor similarly emphasizes the necessity of transformation and refinement for achieving form, but places this process firmly within the hierarchical causation of the cosmos, where celestial influence facilitates the realization of specific forms. Secondly, Philoponus further highlights the division of art and labor in craftsmanship, where artisans work with immediate materials, while knowledge of more remote materials, such as mining, belongs to a different art. In contrast, nature is self-sufficient. It prepares its own matter and imposes form directly. The Kindī-Circle takes a step farther than Philoponus, describing how the maker conceives the purpose of his works before beginning, while nature operates continuously, transforming one state into another until perfection is reached. Finally, Philoponus distinguishes artificial from natural processes, noting that artificial matter is external and imposed, whereas nature inherently integrates matter and form. The Kindī-Circle adaptor agrees, but reinterprets this through the lens of Alexander causality, where the celestial realm serves as mediator, driving the process of nature and ensuring that all things tend towards their final cause and perfection. In summary, the Kindī-Circle Alexander preserves Aristotelian teleology while adapting a Neoplatonic order of hypostasis and causation to a cosmological framework deeply rooted in Islam. By doing so, it establishes a doctrine in which nature is directly linked to celestial power, ensuring the preservation of species and the orderly progression of the sublunar world in accordance with universal principles. Thus, the distinct mode of production of nature, compared to craftsmanship, is mirrored in the Neoplatonic hypostasis of the shaper, al-Musawwir, also called as the craftsman or maker in the Kindī-Circle Makala, Hassaniya, which in the Kindī-Circle Alexander becomes the first cause that molds the cosmos, giving it both form and purpose. God and nature come to coincide in celestial power. The Musawwir imposes form upon matter, even though the matter by its nature may not fully receive the form and may remain imperfect. The term al-Musawwir is one of the 99 names of God in Islamic theology, referring specifically to God's creative power to shape and fashion the world, from the root sawara, the noun surah. Here, the adaptor's effort to render the text in Islamic terms becomes evident, employing a terminology that preserves the order of hypostasis and Platonic causation within the framework of the new Islamic cosmology. This cosmology, above all, safeguards the uniqueness and absolute transcendence of God, as reflected in the plural term governments, tadbirat, which signifies the division of the cosmos into two regions with distinct roles. While the upper celestial realms governs, the sublunar world is governed by it, and through it by God. In this framework, the celestial realm serves merely as a mediator of God's providence, emphasizing the preservation of universal species rather than solely individuals. So, to conclude, the Kindī-Circle adaptation of Alexander's of Aphrodisias on Providence illustrates a significant synthesis of Aristotle's teleology and Neoplatonic causation, reformulated to align with an Islamic cosmological framework. By interpreting celestial power as both an immanent force within nature and a divine principle that governs the cosmos, the adaptor bridges the divide between Aristotle's natural philosophy and a monotheistic worldview. Central to this cosmology is the role of the celestial spheres, endowed with intellect and driven by their desire for the first God. From them emanates a celestial power that governs sublunar nature, ensuring the actualization of potentialities, the differentiation of individuals, and the preservation of species. This process reflects a profound integration of Aristotelian physics with Neoplatonic metaphysics, harmonizing the two split regions of the cosmos and allowing perfection to reach each and every being. The influence of celestial powers on the sublunar world is also echoed in Ptolemy's Tetrabiblos, where the celestial bodies are seen as shaping earthly events through their movements and configurations, further emphasizing the interconnectedness between the heavens and the earthly realm. The use of terms such as Musawir, the shaper, a name of God in Islamic theology, underscores the theological reorientation of these ideas, emphasizing divine transcendence while preserving the hierarchical causation central to Neoplatonic thought. Ultimately, the Kindī-Circle adaptation exemplifies how Greek Syriac philosophical traditions were not merely translated, but actively reinterpreted to meet the intellectual and theological needs of the Islamic context. By adapting Alexander's framework to reflect Islamic values and beliefs, the Kindī-Circle demonstrates the dynamic interconnection between Greek philosophy and early Islamic thought. This cosmological vision underscores the enduring relevance of Alexander's idea while showcasing their ability to be reshaped and recontextualized within diverse intellectual traditions. Thank you so much.